recording for those who are going to watch later. Some folks are going to watch later. Y muy buenos días. ¿Cómo están ustedes? ¿Cómo están? ¿Están bien?
Muy bien.
Más o menos.
Sí.
Muy bien.
Muy bien.
Bien, más o menos. Ok, bien aquí. Bien aquí. Ok, todo bien aquí. Everything good here. Todo bien aquí. All's well here. Hoy vamos a practicar. Today we're going to practice with pronunciation. Again, we're going to kind of finish up that pronunciation page. So if you need, I'm going to share it just so that we refresh your memory and you know what it's going to look like. If you've got this page, we're going to go over the B and V stuff and the R stuff. We're going to try to like not take too much time on that, maybe no more than 15 minutes. So make sure you have that handy. I want to give you a minute or so to look for that. Also, if you printed it off, if you have it on screen, you can always just bring up two screens. Y también, and also, we're going to take a look again at Ser en Estar. We're going to get an answer key for the little Ser en Estar practice page. And we're going to take a look at why we have two verbs. Why? Well, we have two verbs and actually three. And actually, if you really extend it, four, that can be translated as to be. But we're going to go through why that is and what circumstances you use them in. You will not be perfect or feel perfectly comfortable with that yet. It is something that takes time and practice. So our objective is going to be to look at a lot of examples of when we use ser and all those conjugations of it, when we use estar and all those conjugations of it. What's going on with that thing with I again? And we're going to introduce a little bit about another verb yet. We had ser, estar, I, which doesn't change, and tener, which means have, like you own something, you possess it. But tener also, in some circumstances, can be translated as to be, but in specific circumstances. So we'll try to introduce what those are. We got a really full plate today. So, okay, vamos a empezar. We're going to start. Vamos a empezar con pronunciación. I hope you had a chance to check out that video about the R, trilling your R. Yeah. It's not an absolute, you must be perfect at this kind of skill. It's a good to have skill. It helps a lot if you can trill an R, but for many people, it will take time. And so if it comes naturally to you, fantastico. If you need a lot of time for it, that's also okay. But do go back to that link yet another time if it is tough for you, because that R requires really, that was a great explanation about if you start with an F, and with an F, we push out air. That gives you the air for your tongue to do the flap with the R. Okay, but let's start with the B y B. B y B. B y B. Sometimes they're called B grande, B chica, B grande, B. There are all kinds of names for these letters. The letter gets different names. How crazy. B grande, sometimes called B con burro, B for burro, because burro, everybody knows what a burro is, hee-haw, and B chica, little v. They will really sound the same. Sometimes they will be a little more, sometimes it'll be a little softer, B. Sometimes it'll be super soft, B. It's never the explosive B. If you put your hand in front of your face to say, big bad boy, you feel puffs of air on your palm. Big bad boy, yeah, big bad boy. That boy's a brat. Okay. Hey, baby. You hear, you feel the puff of air. You should not feel the puff of air or feel very, very, very little with a Spanish B. So, anyway, when B leads off a word, when it is the first letter of a word, or when it's next to consonants, letters that are not A, E, I, O, U, it will get that somewhat harder B sound. Okay, somewhat harder, but not as hard as the English B. So when the be or be chica are between two vowels, they will get a super soft sound. And the way that my instructor used to force us to go into the old-fashioned language lab and practice this was you had to take a sheet of paper for the soft B and put it between your lips, and your lips should barely touch the paper when you say the be, 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 be. Your lips should barely touch. So that was what we were forced to do. I'm not going to ask you to do that, but just to give you an idea of how soft that B is when it comes between two vowels, okay? But the be y the be, grande, be chica, they will, those two letters make the same sound. So little kids who are in school in Mexico, están en la escuela en Mexico, when they take their spelling tests, as our little kids take their spelling tests, this is one of the letters they get wrong sometimes on their spelling test because the be, the be sound exactly like. Okay, they make the same sound. So the important thing is not when you see be chica, what we call the V, not to give it a B pronunciation with teeth on the lips. Okay, be, they will make the same sound. So let's take a look at these. We're going to look at all the B's on the left-hand side. A la izquierda, on the left.
Pardon?
Sí, dime. Sí,
just a quick spelling check. So I've been doing Duolingo every day, and they've had boleta as ticket, but this is
yes.
a very, very different spelling of ticket.
There are different words used for ticket.
Okay.
Boleto, billete, entrada. Yeah, there are different words for ticket. There's synonyms.
And different spellings. Okay, because
Yeah,
it was like a B-O-L-E-T-A.
Boleto, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's another one. There are a lot.
Okay.
There are a lot of words. It's one of those words that gets there are a lot of synonyms, there are a lot of words, and some of them might be used more regionally in one place or another.
Gracias.
And yeah, entrada is a little more like entrada, which is not one of the B words, but entrada, which looks like entrance, and it can mean entrance also, is sometimes used more for like concerts or theaters because you're entering into a building, you know, as opposed to an airplane ticket or a bus ticket or something like that. Okay. Vale. Vamos a practicar aquí. Bueno, repitan por favor. Blanco, blanco.
Blanco.
Blanco. Okay, we're gonna, this is a somewhat harder B. Bravo.
Bravo.
Bravo. Bravo. The second sound there is going to be much softer. Bravo.
Bravo.
Bravo. Bien, okay. Billete. 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 Bien. And here comes our animal. Burro. Burro.
Burro.
And don't be afraid to kind of, you know, zhuzh up and get that R going. Burro. Okay. Here's one of the many words for beautiful. Spanish has a lot of words for beautiful or good looking or lovely. Bello. Bello.
Bello.
Bello. Bien. And here's one of the words that means inexpensive. Something does not cost very much. Barato. 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 Okay. That bit will sound just like this. Be chica. These two on both sides, both columns will make the same sound. So the first one is vista.
Vista.
Vista. Yeah, vista, a view. We have a lot of our street names have that word vista in them because of where we live. Verde, verde.
Verde.
Verde, sí, bien. These all have some stronger B sounds. Vamos,
Vamos.
Vamos means let's go. Vamos is a good word to just know for what it does mean. Vamos is let's go, or we are going. Vamos.
Vamos.
Here's something that's a command. Somebody usually does this when they tell you, venga, 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 come. This is another word that is good to know. Ver, ver, ver.
Ver.
And usually you're going to hear it like this right next to it, a ver. And then it goes softer because then it's going to be sandwiched between two vowel sounds. If I say a ver, a ver, a ver, it's something you hear a lot just in casual conversation. A ver. This is why you use a ver. A ver, a ver, a ver. Let's see. When someone is contemplating something, they got to check out something on, a ver. They got to check something out on a document that you gave them, a ver. You give them a map, you want to know where something is, you need directions, a ver. Let's see, they're pondering what they're going to tell you. And the word for vacation, which in Spanish is always a plural word. It can never be vacación, singular. It's always plural. Vacaciones, vacaciones.
Vacaciones.
Vacaciones, and it'll never have a sh. I know we say vacation, but it'll be vacaciones, all as it, vacaciones.
Yeah.
Vacaciones.
Vacaciones.
Vacaciones. Okay. You're going to hear a lot more examples here of where a B or the B grande or the B chica are between vowels, and they're going to go even softer than the be in the examples above. Oh, and here we've got a mix, a lead off harder B and a softer B. And here we've got a mix, a soft be chica and a more voiced B. So you'll hear the difference between these. Okay, we've got a la izquierda, on the left, tuvo, tuvo.
Tuvo.
And we've got the one on the right, which will sound exactly the same, tuvo, tuvo. They're two completely different words. They don't mean the same thing. Tuvo, tuvo. How do you know? Well, from the context of how it's used. Okay. Ella tuvo un bebé. She didn't tube a baby. She had a baby. Right? Es un tubo de pasta de dientes. It's a toothpaste tube. Okay. So that's how you know the difference, because of how they use it in a sentence. La isla, the island, Cuba. Cuba,
Cuba.
Cuba, Cuba. The thing you put in your door to open it up, llave, llave,
Yeah.
llave. And you just touch your lips together, llave, llave. Bien?
Llave.
We've got a soft, bebe, sound very soft. Fabuloso, fabuloso, fabuloso.
Fabuloso.
Fabuloso, muy bien, muy bien. Here's something you hear if somebody is like super, super sick or got really badly hurt. Grave, grave,
Grave.
grave, grave. Grave never means like the grave you dig to bury a body. Grave means always serious, a grave situation, a grave illness, a grave serious accident. Okay, here we're going to get a mix of a hard B to lead off and a soft B in the middle of two vowels. Bebida, bebida,
Bebida.
bebida, útil, useful word. It means a drink. Quiere una bebida. Do you want a drink? A waiter may ask you, quiere, do you want? Quiere una bebida. Quiere una bebida. Bien. And next we're going to get a soft B chica with a harder B because it's next to an R. So we get the month noviembre, noviembre,
Noviembre.
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 Noviembre, noviembre, noviembre. And noviembre, you will notice that months of the year don't get capitalized in general. There are some countries where I notice people kind of breaking that rule. It must be a bleed over from English borrowing. Okay. Let's look a little bit at our R, maybe practice that a little bit. There are two R's actually in Spanish. The plain R, one single R, and here's one of the few consonants that's got a double. R is the double R is considered a separate letter. No, there are very few double consonants. You know, like English has lots of double T's, butter, clatter, clutter. We have double D's, ladder. You know, we have double P's. He flopped, she flopped down. We have double B's. Spanish has hardly any double consonants. You know, they've got a double C, and they've got this double R, and they've got that double L, and that's kind of about it. Okay, so you'll never see a double P or a double B or a double T. You'll never see any of that. Okay, but this R will be a thing. So R, let's look at the single R. And the video was a really super good thing. Go back to that video with the guy in the red shirt who talked about how to trill an R if you want to practice some more. But generally, the general quick explanation is it's one flap of your tongue right behind your teeth, up against the top part of your palate and behind your teeth. Kind of like if you say these words quickly, super, super fast in English. Ladder, 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 butter, 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 butter. That sound that comes out with butter, 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 butter. Or, ooh, if you're at a baseball game, batter, 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 batter. Yeah, people do that to like rev up the guy who's up at bat, batter, 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 batter. Kind of a chant that people do. That is where your tongue goes, if you can do that in English. Okay, but these will sound like this. Caro.
Caro.
Caro. Caro. It's a single flap of your tongue. It's not a it's a caro. Caro. Okay, we've got a single R in the word for but. You know, I'd like to come, but I don't have a car today. Pero. Bien. Okay. Somebody, if they want to say something is clear, or if they want to say, oh, of course, might use this word, claro. Claro.
Claro.
Claro. Single flap. Claro. Okay. Here's a word that means raw. It's also a slang term sometimes used to say that somebody's hung over drunk after a long night of drinking, way too much. Crudo. Crudo. Crudo.
Crudo.
Crudo. Crudo. And the word for group, which looks like the English word because this is a cognate, comes from similar word. Grupo.
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 But you'll notice none of those sounds like they're really revved up R's. I mean, it's a little flat, but it's not, it's huge. It's, you know, caro, pero, claro, crudo, grupo. Okay. Now, if the single R is the first letter of a word, then something special happens. And that special thing is it will sound like the R, the strong trill. And this is the one that might give you some trouble. Okay, but this is the one that gets the strong rev it up trill, or rolling your R as we call it. So let's look at this word, carro, carro.
Carro.
I want you to hear, yeah, that's pretty good. Bien, bien, bien. I want you to hear the difference between this carro, and this word carro. You can hear a difference. Even if you can't say it, you can hear it, carro. But carro, right?
Yes.
Notice the difference between pero, a little flat, pero, and the word for doggy, perro. Perro gets a stronger. So if you hear the word perro, a stronger trill, they mean bow wow doggy, not pero of but. If you hear carro, they mean an automobile, not carro something. El carro es caro. The car is expensive. El carro es caro. Bien, okay. We have a little pastry that we even here in the Southwest like to eat a lot. Churro.
Churro.
Churro. Yeah, churros. Okay. We've got one of the words for brown. They don't use this word as much in Mexico, but they do in Colombia, they do in Spain. Marrón.
Marrón.
Marrón. Marrón is one of the words for brown. Some places in Latin America like that word. In Spain like that word marrón. In Mexico se dice café. In Mexico, they like the word café to use more for the word brown, café or color de café. But lots of other places use marrón. Here's the word for drunk. It's got a double R. Borracho. 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 Yeah, borracho. Okay. Now, if a single R is the first letter of a word, it's still going to sound like that strongly trilled double R. So we get rojo,
Rojo.
rojo, red.
Rojo.
We get the word for river, rio,
Rio.
rio. Yeah, rio. It's hard to start a word with that, isn't it? Rio. So if you feel it's hard, practicar. Hay que practicar. Rio. Okay. Here's a word that means rich, as in has a lot of money. It's also used to talk about food that tastes really super yummy when they put a plate in front of you and you taste it. Ooh, está rico, está rico. Rico,
Rico.
rico,
Rico.
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 There you go. Sí, bien. Yeah, this is a tough one and it takes time, you know, paciencia. Here we get a strong R to start out this word and a little flap in the middle of the word. So, restaurante, restaurante,
Restaurante.
restaurante, restaurante, restaurante.
Restaurante.
Bien, sí. Yeah, that it takes time, but you know, this is one of those things, if you struggle with it a little bit, you'll get better as you go along. You really will. Here we get a strong trill to start off and a little flap in the middle. Raro, raro,
Raro.
raro. Raro can mean rare, as in precious, rare, scarce. Raro more frequently means something is strange, unusual, kind of weird, kind of off. Weird, strange, odd, raro. If somebody says, es muy raro, it's likely they mean something is weird, not that something is very, yeah. Maybe if you're in a museum, you might hear raro in that sense. Okay. Sí, preguntas. Any questions with these? And it's like, it's paciencia. It's practice and patience with this R. Okay. Just two little quick things about these last two letters, and then we're going to move on. X might sound two different ways, and it kind of depends on the word. If it's an EX that starts off the word, this is kind of the Latin thingy, and it'll sound like we do the EX, X, you know, so you've got lots of words where they start in an EX, and it'll sound like you think it should. Experto, experto. See, that means what you think. Exacto.
Exacto.
Exacto means what you think. Here's a word that you hear a lot if you were a traveler. Extranjero. Extranjero means abroad, like el extranjero, abroad. Él va al extranjero. He's going abroad. Or something that is foreign, extranjero, okay? Bien. Sometimes, however, and especially in Mexico, especially in Mexico, there are a lot of geographic names for parks, names for cities, names for towns, which sometimes used to be spelled with a J and switched over to the X. They might come from an indigenous Latin American word, language, indigenous language originally. So you'll see these little X's, and usually, sometimes they might make a sh sound. Sometimes though, it's just like that H sound, like Mexico, Mexico, like Texas, Texas. Yeah, that throaty H. Mexico, Texas. Sometimes even like a little S sound with some of these Nahuatl and indigenous language words that are borrowed. But Mexico and Texas used to be spelled with a J, used to long ago, like in the 1500s when they made out crude maps, the first explorers. And then they started to switch the spelling to an X. So it still sounds like a ha, 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 Mexico, Texas. But with these words that start off with an EX, it'll sound like it should be X, but not Mexico, Mexico. Mexico, not Texas, Texas, Texas. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And of course, those two areas are geographic areas. So, okay. Yeah. The one thing to let you know about this letter Zeta, this letter Z is called Zeta, which is kind of like what, well, the Brits call it Z, don't they? They don't call it the letter Z, they call it Z. And Zeta, I think, comes from a similar thing, probably back to Greek, I'm not sure. Anyway, the Zeta will not have the Z, that buzz sound to it. It'll sound like an S, okay? It'll sound like an S in most situations, okay? So you get words like pencil, lapis, lapis.
Lapis.
Lapis, yeah. You get words like fox, zorro, zorro. Zorro. Yeah, fox. Yeah, that old legend, like that old movie thing. Zorro's fox, because he was clever and he outwitted the authorities. We have the word for a light, luz, luz. We have the word for a cross, like the symbol, or even like cross, like for crossing the street. There's a verb that means to cross, cruzar, but the word for cross itself is cruz. Cruz. Yeah. We got a really long word here, but this word is great because this is part of knowing directions. When people say right or left, right? Here's the word for left. And it starts off with a zeta sound in the first syllable. Izquierda. Izquierda.
Izquierda.
Izquierda, muy bien. Izquierda. And how you will hear that word, izquierda, is a la izquierda. A la izquierda means to the left. A la izquierda. A la izquierda, somebody's telling you on the left. Okay. And another thing, and if you hear this, somebody's either scolding somebody or they're saying you're kind of a jerk, vergüenza, or they're saying they feel embarrassed. This is a word they use for embarrassed, vergüenza. Vergüenza. And that's got that little umlaut thing, that double dot thing. That means we do pronounce that U, vergüenza. Vergüenza. And we've got a ZA at the end, vergüenza. Que vergüenza. Wow. How embarrassing. Que vergüenza. How embarrassing. Que vergüenza. Okay. Bien. We're going to leave pronunciación for now. Menos que tengan preguntas, unless you've got some kind of quick question on that before we move on. Sí o no?
No.
No. Bien. Okay. Vale. I'm going to show you just as a reference. We're going to kind of move into some of this verb business here. Yeah, we're going to move into this a lot. We're going to look at ser. We're going to look at estar. The forms of them, see if we can fill them in the blank. I'll show you which word, which thing we're looking at, because I'm going to show you an answer key. Know that both ser and estar mean to be, but they get different conjugations because they're different verbs, even though we would say them as the English to be. They are two different verbs, ser, to be, and estar, to be. We use them in different situations. We use them for different reasons, but each verb gets a special set of forms, which we call conjugations, and ser and estar are both very irregular. So ser will be one of these things that you see, whoops, up at the top. It'll either be soy for yo. And right, the form of the verb tells you who is doing the action. I know to be is not an action, but it's a verb. So whoever is the subject of the sentence, whoever does the action of the sentence, that is who we look to for we use this form of the verb. So if the subject is yo, is soy. If it's tú, I'm speaking to someone saying you in a friendly way, is eres. If I'm talking about one human being, or I'm using the usted polite you, it's es. For we, meaning I have people with me, okay? Not just yo, but yo y. Somebody y yo is what we call nosotros, we. So the we form is somos. And then the form for more than one human being, ellos, they, or ellas, the feminine they, or ustedes, you guys, because that's a plural thing, you plural, is son. So, soy, eres, es, somos. Sois they only use in Spain, so we're going to skip that one, and son. And we have these examples. So we're going to take a look at an answer key for these, so you can see what the answers were. Carmen es española, and I'm going to give you a quick rundown on why these are ser. Why these are ser. Ser tends to tell you more permanent, more identification. You can peg a description that is solid and always situation. Because this is nationality, where somebody is from, española, Spanish, nationality does not change. You're from wherever you're from. You were born wherever you were born, right? It's a permanent thing. So Carmen es española, Carmen es because we're talking about Carmen. She's only one person. Carmen es española, right? Julio y Hernando, they are two guys. So we got to get a plural verb, but yo is not in the group. So it's a third person singular. Julio y Hernando son argentinos. And again, it's nationality. They are Argentine. They are from Argentina. Okay. Somos italianos. We, the only way to express we is somos. We are. And notice we don't use the we word. We don't use nosotros very much. They'll skip it most of the time. Somos italianos is all you got to say, not nosotros somos italianos, okay? If you see or hear nosotros somos, it's generally there because they want you to have the context to know, conjugate the verb for we, for nosotros, but it will be skipped. Ustedes también son italianos. These are all nationality things. También means also, too, as in T-O-O, that too. Are you guys also Italian? And the answer was no, nosotros no somos italianos, somos alemanes. We are German. Person is saying, nope, we're not Italian, we're German. All nationality kind of things so far here, okay? Bien. Hola, soy Pedro. Hi, I'm Peter. Well, if you're identifying yourself by telling your name, it's a form of ser. Soy Pedro. Here was one of the sois examples, and it was a feminine, you guys. You would only hear this in Spain. Sois Clara y Teresa. You will never hear that in Latin America. So we'll gloss over that one. If we use usted, usted always pairs up, uses the same verb as él, the same verb as ella. It just does. So, ¿es usted el señor González? Are you Mr. González? We're asking you to identify yourself. ¿Es usted el señor González? Las amigas de Miguel, Mike's friends. And his friends happen to be gals. That doesn't really affect the verb. It affects it for the plural side, but not for gender. The only way to say Mike's, they belong to Mike. We can't do apostrophe S in Spanish. So the way we do apostrophe S to say Mike's car, Mike's kids, Mike's friends, is to say de Miguel, of Mike. De Miguel, of Mike. Las amigas de Miguel, Mike's friends, son peluqueras. Son peluqueras. They are hairdressers. Pelo is this stuff. Pelo. So if we take the word pelo and we turn it into peluquera, it means a lady who cuts your pelo, hair. Okay. And if somebody feels they can tutear, they can address you with tú, they may ask, where are you from? And they'll ask it as, from where are you? ¿De dónde eres? ¿De dónde eres? This tú was only there to give you context. You generally will not hear the word tú in that sentence. Somebody will, you know, that is there only because of giving you a clue. De dónde eres? You will generally only hear the three words, de dónde eres. ¿De dónde eres? If it were a formal, where are you from? ¿De dónde es usted? Okay, so we use ser to talk about profession, what you do for a living. We use ser to ask where somebody is from, their origin. That might be a question. That might be using a nationality word. We use it to just ask somebody or to talk about somebody, identifying who they are, giving them a name, putting an ID name tag on a person. Ser tends to be used that way, and we'll see some more examples in a bit. Okay, bien. Preguntas. Any questions on ser?
Location and some other things.
Not location. Okay. I'm going to give you an exception, but don't fret about this. When people talk about events like a wedding, a conference, a party, those are events. Events with location will be ser, will be this verb, but those are the only kind of things that go with location. Usually location is the other one.
All right.
Yeah. We do not use ser. We do not use this verb ser for, we do not use it for location as a general rule, only in very, very specific situations. Okay. Bien. Now we're going to take a look at estar. And what were the answers for estar? Estar, just like ser, also means, it means to be, but it means to be when we talk about location, where something is. And we use it to talk about how people feel, whether that's emotions or whether it's health. So that's why we've got the silly little rhyme for how, for how you feel or where you are. Always use the verb estar. It's a little rhyming memory thing. For how you feel or where you are, always use the verb estar. Estar is used for location and for how you feel, health, how you feel, emotions. So this is a verb that indicates things that tend to be more transitory in nature, tend to more indicate a state that is changeable, easily changeable, because your health can change quickly, right? And your emotions can change quickly. Okay, so estar is used to indicate those kinds of situations and to talk about location. So we had a whole bunch of examples here. We're going to take a look at an answer key to see. And, I'm sorry, perdón. The forms of estar, to preview that, are just like we had soy, eres, es, somos, son. We've got conjugations for this verb also. They're irregular because it's an irregular verb, but they will be, of course, different words. They will be estoy, estás. And we have to punch the last syllable, estás. That's why you see an accent mark, estás, and está, and Estamos, if I am in a group. And estáis we can skip because that's only used in Spain for the plural of tú. And then for talking about more than one human being, it's están. Están. Okay. So, okay. Vamos a ver. We're going to take a look at what the answer key was for those. Oh, if you're talking to Susana, and you're talking to Susana using her first name, you're talking to her on a tú basis. If you're on a first name basis, you're using tú. Buenos días, Susana. ¿Cómo estás? ¿Cómo estás? How are you? How do you feel? Right? Los libros están en la biblioteca. The books are in the library. Location. Estamos concentrados. We are focused, concentrating. ¿Está usted ocupado? Are you busy? Busy is a state that it's like a toggle switch. Sometimes you're busy, sometimes you're not, right? Ocupado. ¿Está usted ocupado? Are you busy? No, no estoy ocupado. No, I'm not busy would be the answer to that question, right? If we talk about how we feel, cansada means tired. And I am a woman, so I would have to use the feminine form of cansada, not cansado with an O at the end, but cansada. I would say estoy muy cansada. You generally will not hear this word yo. In most situations, people will drop that word yo. It is there just for context for you doing that exercise. Estoy muy cansada. People will skip the yo most of the time. Oh, I want to talk where instead of reloj here, it might be a clock on the wall. ¿Dónde está el reloj? Reloj. ¿Dónde está el reloj? Where is the clock? Está en la pared. It's on the wall. La pared is an interior wall, like a wall inside your house. Está en la pared. It's on the wall. ¿Están ustedes en casa? Are you guys at home? At home is a location. ¿Están en casa? You guys home? No. Nosotros estamos en la escuela. Nope. We're at school. Location. Okay. María está pálida. María is pale. Her face looks like a sheet of white paper. Está pálida. And then we tell why. The word porque is why. Porque está resfriada. Resfriada. Achoo. Means you're sick with that. Not COVID. A cold. Resfriada. Está resfriada means she is cold, meaning she has a cold. Okay. Cristina está embarazada. This embarazada is one of the great big, funny joke words. It is a false cognate. It looks like embarrassed, but it means pregnant. And pregnant, thank heavens, is temporary. So,
Say that again.
yeah.
What's the pronunciation? Okay.
Embarazada. Embarazada does not mean embarrassed. Embarazada. Tengo vergüenza. That means, wow, I'm embarrassed. But está embarazada means you are pregnant, right? Está embarazada. She is pregnant. Embarazada. It is a false cognate. It looks like embarrassed, but it does not mean embarrassed at all. A friend of mine was an exchange student in Mexico when she was 15 years old. She sat down to have dinner with her host family and said, she did something. Oh, she dropped her fork or something like that, dropped her napkin. Estoy embarazada. And she thought she said, I am so embarrassed that I dropped this fork. And they all looked at her at the table like, hello, I'm staying with you for several months. I'm pregnant, by the way. And they kind of like, there's this awkward silence. And then they explained to her. Okay. Now, sometimes, whereas embarazada is a very temporary condition, a health condition. Now we're going to talk about locations. Sevilla, Seville. Sevilla está en el sur de España. Sevilla está. Sevilla is located en el sur, in the south de España, right? Bogotá está en el centro de Colombia. Bogotá is located en el centro de Colombia, in the center of Colombia. Okay. Ella no está en el colegio. She's not at high school. This word is not college. Colegio is anywhere from like a middle to a high school usually, but it's definitely not universidad, university. Okay, so that's kind of also a false cognate. It is a school, it's just not college. No está en el colegio. She's not at the high school. Because está de vacaciones. She's on vacation, and on vacation, well, is not at work. Yeah, it's still kind of location in a way. Ellos están en el hospital. They are in the hospital. That's location. And then we've got a because están enfermos. They are sick. Sick is temporary, how they feel, health, how they feel. And están en el hospital. They're in the hospital, their location. So for how you feel or where you are, we use estar. Bien?
Bien.
Okay? Bien. So generally, the good rule of thumb, because, here's the problem. When you're talking with people, first of all, you're thinking, oh my God, I got to get the right conjugation. Estoy, estás, está, estamos, están, soy, eres, es, somos, son. So you're thinking of all those, right? And then you're also saying, oh, wait, which verb do I even use? Well, okay. You don't have a lot of time to do that. Sort through that mentally when you're talking. Yeah, that is the difficulty. So we are going to, what you need is a little quick 50-50 rule. Okay. And when other people speak, it'll be obvious to you, oh, they're using ser or estar, because you'll hear it. But if you have to say it, that's a different ball game. You have to decide first, do I use ser or estar, and then get the right conjugation. Well, you need an easier reason. So we're going to look at this real quickly, this little video, because it's super short. And we're even going in the middle of the video. When we use ser, when we use estar.
As mentioned in the respective videos, ser is closely associated with identity, while estar is closely associated with the state of someone or something. Okay, so ser is seen as more permanent, but don't get too hung up on that, because sometimes what we consider permanent in English, yeah. But, your identity is permanent, right? Who you are is a permanent thing. And estar being a state, if somebody is in a state, that means they're in a certain condition, and that is changeable. That works. Okay, so she's going to show you a long list. Long list for each of these verbs.
Here are the long lists. Ser is used for identity, identification, and I'm going down the little bullets she's got. Nacionalidad y origen, nationality and origin. Material, meaning you tell what something is made out of. Yeah? What something is made out of. Posesión, possession. We had a sentence in the ser practice sheet. Las amigas de Miguel son las amigas de Miguel, right? Es de Sara. It's Sarah's possession. Características. wait, these are descriptions, but these are descriptions about how that person really is, not what they feel like, what they really look like. Son jóvenes, they're young. Okay. Generalizaciones, generalizations. It's good, it's bad. Okay. Eventos. El baile. Here's the thing we talked about. You asked about location. I said, this is it, right? El baile es en la unión, the dance. It's an event. It's not a building. It's not an object. It's an event. El baile es en la unión. We use ser in that location, but that's kind of, you're not likely to use that a lot as a tourist. And then es para mí. Is it for me? Okay. And now look at what happens with estar.
As to when to use each one.
Here we go. When to use estar? Localidad, location, salud, health. Está enferma, is sick. Condiciones de momento. Están contentos. Estoy furiosa. These are emotion words. Contentos, happy. Furiosa, mad, spitting mad, furiosa, furious. Yeah. So you see how we get that little rhyme, how you feel, and where you are. And then it says expresión fijas, fixed expressions. Está bien, it's okay. Estoy de acuerdo, I agree. Don't worry about this last thing. We want a simple rule.
These lists are good, and you have studied them before. But how can we condense all of this information into something that works regardless of the person or thing that we are describing? Well, how about this as an alternative? What if we thought of ser as being used when we want to talk about something in general, and we thought of using estar as being used when we want to talk about something at this or that moment in time?
Because in general, you're identifying something or talking about something that is an essential part of what that thing or that human being is. And ahora mismo means right now. So if we're thinking about in the here and now, that's a different thing than in general.
Let's try it out. Esta es mi abuela.
This is my grandma. Esta es mi abuela.
En general, mi abuela es baja, simpática y organizada.
In general, my grandma is short, nice lady. Simpática means nice. Organizada, organized, or an orderly person. These talk about her physical description. That's just the way she is. Her personality. Well, she didn't look that nice with the rolling pin, but generally they say she's a nice person and she's organized. Her personality traits, which are generally what she's like day in, day out, and what she physically looks like. Those are ser.
En general, mi abuela es de España.
Where she's from.
En general, mi abuela es la madre de mi madre.
Who she is. Identifying her. She's the mother of my mother. She's my mom's mother. Mi abuela es la madre de mi madre. She is the mother of my mother. She's my mom's mother. Okay.
Pero ahora mismo,
But ahora mismo means right now. En el presente. Very in the moment.
mi abuela está enojada porque mi hermano se comporta mal.
My grandma is angry because my brother is behaving badly. Is angry is not her general characteristic all the time, grandma kind of description. It's how she feels. If it's an emotion that comes from within, it's estar.
Ahora mismo mi abuela está cansada porque no durmió mucho anoche.
My grandma is tired. Está cansada. She's tired. That's how she feels. Okay. She did not sleep because is the porque word. Porque no durmió, because she did not sleep mucho. She didn't sleep much last night, anoche.
Ahora mismo mi abuela está en la cocina.
Mi abuela está en la cocina. My grandma is in the kitchen. In the kitchen is a location. Está en la cocina. So how she feels, where she is. For how you feel or where you are, always use the verb estar.
In this way, we are able to condense all of these uses of ser and estar. Makes sense, right? Let's try another one.
Now, we're going to show you some things that might sound a little tricky to you. And if you were speaking, it would be tricky. But if you're listening, it's going to nuance the description. So if this seems hard to you, just kind of go with the flow, but understand you may hear people talk about the same thing and use either ser or estar. But it's going to highlight whether it is, I am talking about this thing as it's a category, or what this one particular thing in front of me right now is really like right now. Okay, a general category, or, ooh, this specific item that's in front of me.
Las pupusas.
Pupusas, it's a kind of food from Latin America.
Saying las pupusas son ricas is talking about the dish in general, the recipe in general.
Ricas here means delicious. Pupusas, this kind of food that we call pupusas, they are delicious. All pupusas, if you see it on any old menu in any old restaurant, in general, this category of food, it's good stuff. Son ricas. They're delicious. This kind of food. Okay.
Not any specific making of the dish, but the concept in general. Contrast this with las pupusas están ricas.
Wait a minute. The same exact sentence, but a different verb. This has a nuance to it.
Now we are talking about the dish right now, meaning the dish in front of you, or this preparation of the recipe. Ahora mismo están ricas. If you keep these two phrases in mind, you will never go wrong with your usage of ser and estar.
Well, you may, but here we go. Here's why. Las pupusas están ricas. We would probably nuance this to have the meaning of they taste delicious. This particular dish that I have, not the category in general, but these things I have in front of me, pupusas, they're specific concrete things, and somebody just put them in front of me on a plate, en un plato, están en un plato, sí, están ricas. They are delicious, meaning they taste that way. The way these were prepared, they taste great. Okay, so this is a description you may find hard to use right now, and that is okay. But you may hear people say this, especially when they're talking about food in a restaurant. Están ricas, están ricos, they taste good, they taste yummy, they are that way, this one that I have in front of me. But if I'm talking about food in general, right? I want to say, let's take something that's not pupusas. Let's take something that's fruta. La fruta es buena. Fruit is good. Meaning all fruit, this kind of a food that we call a fruit, it's good for you. It's good for you. La fruta es buena. La fruta es buena. Fruit is good for you. That kind of food. It's better for you than candy. It's better for you than sweets. It's better for you than cookies and cake. Okay. La fruta es buena. But la fruta está buena. It tastes really good. Oh, it tastes really good the way they arranged it, it's just at the right stage of ripeness. Okay, it has that implication of taste, flavor. Then, okay, that starts to give you a little idea of ser en estar.
Yes.
Yeah, little ideas. Now, and that is something you are likely to hear. It is something you are likely to hear quite frequently. And she's going to go on to talk a little bit about haber, but we're going to leave that for a moment. We're going to take a look at some examples of ser en estar. Ser en estar, more examples. Because the way you're really going to get a feel for this, whether we're talking about using ser to identify, tell professions, tell where somebody's from, or estar, location, how they feel, is to hear a lot of examples. So we're going to go through some examples together. Okay, a ver. Bueno, unos ejemplos aquí. Bien. Son, they are, and you're going to get these examples that you can like read later, so don't take any notes, just kind of watch and listen. Son Jorge Clooney, George Clooney, y su esposa Amal. Son, they are. I'm identifying them by telling their names. Son Jorge Clooney y su esposa Amal. Son famosos, they are famous. It's a characteristic. Amal es bella. I'm describing what she looks like. Sadly, she probably looks better getting up with her hair all messed up than I do on a regular day, like working at it. Okay. Es morena. She's a brunette. That's physically what she looks like. Let's look at a have. She has brown eyes. Tiene los ojos. Tiene los ojos. She has. And I have to switch to a different verb. Tiene. Tiene los ojos cafés, or they might say, tiene los ojos marrones. You might hear either word for brown, right? Es delgada. She's thin. Es inteligente porque es abogada. She's intelligent because she is a lawyer. Ella es lista. She is clever, smart. Jorge es actor. George is an actor. It's what he does for a living. I'm identifying him. Es muy famoso. I'm just talking about George. Es muy famoso. Porque es actor, because he's an actor, es muy famoso. All of these talked about ser, okay? Es norteamericano. He's a US citizen. Es un hombre norteamericano. That also means he's from the United States. Right? Es canoso. He has gray hair. Es atractivo. He's attractive. Tiene una barba. He has a beard. Because he can't be a beard. He has a beard. Tiene una barba. Tiene una barba. ¿Sí? Tiene una barba. Okay. Vale. Tiene una barba. But if I want to talk about they're at a big event. They're at a big event. Or they're in Los Angeles, or they're in Cannes, France. See? Están en Francia. Or if they're in LA, están en Los Ángeles. Están en un evento del cine. They're at a movie event. That would be location. ¿Entienden? See?
Sí.
Location versus where they are. Okay. Es el líder político del Canadá. He is the political leader of Canada. That's his job. Es el líder político de Canadá. Se llama Justin Trudeau. His name is Justin Trudeau. Es canadiense. That's where he's from. It's ser. Es joven. Es guapo. He's young. He's a looker. Okay. Tiene el pelo negro. He has, oh, tiene, different verb. Tiene el pelo negro because he is not hair. He has hair. Tiene el pelo negro. Está en Ottawa. He is in, see, está en Ottawa. Está en la capital del Canadá. He's in the capital of Canada. That's location. Bien, ¿vale? Bien, 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 bien. Let's take a look at el Papa Francisco. El Papa Francisco. El Papa means the Pope. La Papa is a potato. So you got to be careful. Yeah, La Papa is a spud. El Papa is the Pope. El Papa Francisco. This is Pope Francis. Es el Papa Francisco. And notice it's not Papa, Dad. It's el Papa, the Pope. Es el Papa Francisco. Es el jefe de los católicos. He is the head guy of all the Catholics. Él es, and I've got el repeated here because I want you to associate el with es, that verb. Él es un hombre religioso. He's a religious man. Es bajo. He's kind of short. Es de la Argentina. He's from Argentina. Es argentino. Again, he's Argentine. He's Argentine. He's Argentine. He's that nationality. But location. Está en Italia. Él está en Roma. He's in Rome. He's in Italy. Está en la sala de su palacio. He's in, está en la sala. He's in the big salon of his palace. Está muy contento. He looks happy, but es muy amable. He is kind. Kind is not how he feels. Contento, happy, is how he feels. Amable, kind, is a characteristic, the way he acts. The way he acts is not a feeling. It is how he is. Es. Ser. We use a form of ser. Es. But how he feels in this moment. Está muy contento. He feels happy. Uses estar. ¿Entienden? ¿Get that? Sí. Okay.
Yeah,
¿Alguna
thanks.
pregunta? Any question on those?
No, sounds good.
Yeah, they sound great until you have to use them. Isn't that the way it always works? Yeah, they sound great until you have to use it. So here's what I want you to do, because we're going to move on to do some numbers now. We need to do some serious time on numbers. You're going to have like different people to read about. And I want you to take a look at these and see how many of these you understand. These are all going to have examples of ser, examples of estar. They're all going to talk about who these people are, or what they're physically like, what their personality is like, where they were born. Those are all ser. Or they're going to talk about where they're located, where they're standing right now, how they feel, what their health is like. So I want you to notice ser and estar. I want you to read through all of these examples. When there's some that don't have any writing in them. Do I have writing about her? I don't. I'll go back in and write about these people. I've got two here that are blank, but we'll fill that in. I want you to read through all of those so that you see examples of here's where we use ser, and we're going to mix it with estar, the two examples. And if there are examples in there that you don't get, then we'll talk about those next week. Bien?
Yeah.
Sí? Okay. Vale.
Can I leave? Sorry, I have another appointment.
Oh, sí, perdón. Okay.
Yes.
Perdón, sí. Okay, vale. So I would like you to check those out and just look at the examples. And do know it is a tough topic for English speakers. So if you struggle with it a little bit, do know that is a normal thing and it will come better with time. Okay.
Adios.
Sí, adios. Nos vemos. See you in a bit. We're going to take a look at some numbers. We're going to practice some numbers and we're going to review some numbers first. Un repaso. Un repaso. So we're going to review our 1 through 10s and kind of practice the 1 through 10s together, right? Vamos a ver. And you can see the numbers here. So we got cero, sí. Bueno, and I would like you to repeat it. Repitan, por favor. Cero, uno. You may hear it as una if they're talking about a feminine thing, but uno, dos, tres, cuatro, cinco, seis, siete, ocho, 9, 10. 10. And those numbers are going to get recycled all the time when you use the higher numbers. Because we'll keep using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, maybe not 10 yet. But we'll keep recycling those when we say words like 28 or 39 or 45. So we keep recycling the 0 through 10 numbers. Really, I should say 1 through 10 numbers a lot. We might use them as single digits, but we recycle them when we go into the higher numbers. Let's take just the 1 through 10s. No higher numbers yet, but just 1 through 10s. Let's see if we can say some phone numbers. And I'm going to do the first phone number up here. I'm going to do the first one. And then I'll ask somebody to take a shot on a different phone number. And I'm going to say these as single digit numbers. Okay, like we might in English. So I'm going to say 9, 2, 5, 6, 9, 1, 1. 9, 2, 5, 6, 9, 1, 1. Okay. A lot of times we memorize 1 through 10 in order, but when you got to say them out of order, that's a little bit harder. Yeah. See, bien. Is there anybody who wants to try this middle one right here? The one that's 98845. I'm sorry, 9884357. CJ.
I will try.
Yay.
9, 8, 8, 4, 3, 5, 7.
Perfecto. Muy bien. Excellent.
It's the only thing I really know in Spanish. So that
Está bien. That's okay. Numbers are a survival skill. They truly, truly are. Let's take a look at Pandemonium, Oakland Zoo. Somebody else want to give this one a try?
I'll try. Okay.
Bien, Holly. Vamos, let's go. Vamos, Holly.
CS, I had to think for a second.
Okay, and you do. Normal.
3, 2, 9, 5, 2, 5.
Perfecto. Excelente, Holly. Muy bien. Muy bien. Okay. Aquí. Padmini, you want to give that one a shot?
Sure.
Bien.
9, 4, 8, 6, 9, 9, 1.
Excelente. Muy bien. I'm going to take a turn with this top one. 3, 3, 9, 0, 7, 7, 5. Muy bien. Ay, hay más. There's more. Okay. Somebody give this one a go. Auto body repairs, mid-cal
right.
body shop.
there we go. 9, 4, 3, 2, 7, 7 y 8.
Bien, fantástico. Okay. Custom electric. Ooh,
I
it's
didn't
got
even think
lots of
about
stuff.
going through the phone book. This is a good exercise when we talk
It
about getting it out of
does.
order.
It does help you talk. Now, I'm going to tell you the most important thing for you to know and be able to do is, rather than speaking numbers, the essential skill is that when I say a number, you know what it is. The numeric, the digits pop into your brain when you hear the number. And we're going to practice that with the dictation in just a bit, a little dictation, and it's going to be short, but pero fácil, but easy. Okay, let's take this custom electric one down here. See, Holly, you want to give that one a go?
Sure. 5, 8, 7, 7, 7, 3, 4.
Perfecto, muy bien.
Question,
Sí,
like
sí.
when I say a phone number, and when I'm telling somebody a phone number, I will say dash in the middle. Or is there a
No,
no?
no,
Okay.
they don't. Yeah, they won't use that.
Okay.
Buena pregunta. That's a good question. That question has not come up before, Holly. Gracias. I've never heard anyone use a dash.
Okay. Just curious. I don't know why
Yeah.
I do. I just always do.
So yeah, that's okay. All right, let's take a look at the hogs. Wow, this has got to be a barbecue joint. Yep, it is. Sí, es así. Okay, Padmini, want to give that one a go? Oh, and she perhaps cannot hear us. Bien.
I'll do it again.
Oh,
I'll do it.
dale,
Okay.
bien.
5, 4, 1, 8, 3, 2, 8.
Bien. 8, 3, 2, 8. Bien, bien, perfecto. Okay, muy bien. See, so if we get something like this veterinary place, it'll be 7, 0, 7, 0, 2, 8, 3, 1, 0, 4, 3, 3. Okay.
Is there a phrase for area code? Like we'll say area code 702.
There are, but I think
Or just
that might vary a little bit. Yeah, código, el código. But generally, they'll just give the whole set of numbers and won't say area code, It'll just be the set of numbers that you need. Yeah. Okay.
Or they don't say country code.
Yeah, they might not. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah. So anyway, not that they don't have codes, because everyone does, but they'll just include it in the numbers usually. Okay. Vale, perfecto. So now,
Excuse me.
sí,
Oh.
sí.
Pardon. Sorry, we had the roof guy show up and I heard you say my name, but I couldn't speak.
Así es, yes.
So with the area codes, like I've noticed that, we have like the 10 digits, right? And some countries, most other countries, they have like, they say it in different, like they do it in pairs and they always include the country code in the beginning.
Yeah,
So like ours is 1 is the country code for the US, but like different ones have like, India is like 9-1 and whatever, but then they always break it. They have like a different format on how they break it. We do like the 3, 3, and 4. They do like 2, 2, 2, and 4 or whatever, depending on.
There will be country codes, you bet. There will be country codes. But yeah, if they need to give that to you, they will. But if you're, these are just, so, por ejemplo, these are just for you to practice the numbers.
Yeah,
So,
I think they usually tell you the whole thing, whereas in the US, we don't say the country code typically, and that's why we ask like area code or whatever.
If you're in Europe, I'm sure you would notice that more because, you're in Germany, but you're calling somebody in Portugal, you're going to get a totally different, like we would have area codes, but you're right, it'll be broken down into a country code first, because that's the way they do it when you're calling between countries. So yeah, that happens. So, okay. We want to review some of the 11, because 10 is our endpoint, 11 through up to 20, right? We get 11, all one word, like we have 11, all one word. 11, 12, 13. This sounds like dos, but with an e at the end, 12, right? This sounds like tres, but with an e at the end, 13. See? Bien. Then we get 14, which doesn't sound that much like cuatro. It's got some similar sounds, but not all. And quince, which sure doesn't look like cinco or even sound like cinco. Quince, quin, like quin, quince. Bien. And then we get into the math problem kind of numbers, 10 and 6, 10 and 7. So 16, we shove 10 and 6 together. 16, 17, 18, 19, until we get to 20, right? The next number up. So 10 and 8, 10 and 9, 20, you get a different category, right? So once we get into the 20s and the 30s, right? 20, 21, 22, 23 operates like the 16, 17, 18 numbers. It's 20 and 1, 20 and 2, but they shove it all together, okay? 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. So what happens to 20 is this E at the end of 20 generally goes away. We substitute, you know, the word E by itself means and. It means and. But when we combine it in these 20 series numbers, this word and, E, normally spelled that way with the letter Y, becomes E, the same sound, but spelled differently. This letter I subs in for the Y, okay? So it becomes 25, right? The 20, the E drops off the end and it becomes 25, 20 and 5. Here's the word and right there. 26, 26, 27, 27. Yeah, that's the way it works. Once you go above 20, these numbers start to separate out into separate words. So the physical word E and comes back, and if it were spelled, it would be spelled that way, okay? Now, people will not write out numbers like this. They're going to write out numbers as a digit like that, just like we do. But when you hear it, it will, of course, sound like this. 31, 32, 33. But you do hear the A at the end of 30. Yeah. It doesn't kind of drop like that sound here in the 20s. 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39. So from 30 on up, they all separate out into 3 separate words for that number. Okay. We're going to do a little quick dictado. I'm going to take the share off. I want you to have any old crummy piece of paper, something you'll throw away. And you're going to write down some simple numbers. I'm not going to go into great big numbers. I'm going to take the smaller numbers. What I'm going to be taking will be they're going to be numbers that go up as high as 30. Most of them are going to be lower numbers. I want you to write down the digit, not the spelling. No spelling, because nobody spells out these words except for pronunciation, right? When you see them written out as words, you can pronounce them. I want you to write the digit, the digital form of the number that you hear me say, because this is the most essential skill. Somebody will say a price to you, or they'll say an address. Okay, or they'll say, oh, this is the subway line. You need to take subway line 12. Well, okay, if they just say 12 to you, those digits 1 and 2 next to each other better pop into your head, right? So I'm going to say 10 different numbers, and I want you to just write down the digit, not the word. As I say them, you're going to hear each number 3 times, tres veces, okay? Number one, cinco, cinco. Just write down the digit, cinco. Number 2, the number I'm going to say to you is 10, 10, 10. Number 3 is going to be, what is this number? 18, 18, 18. Number 4 is the number 4, 4, 4. Number 5 is the number 7, 7, 7. Number 6 is the number 13, 13, 13. Number 7 is the number 11, 11, 11. Number 8 is the number 20, 20, 20. Number 9 is the number 14, 14, 14. And number 10 is the number 35, 35, 35. Okay, I'm going to show you what the numbers are. Our goal is to have the right digit in at least 7 out of 10. So let's see if you got at least 7 out of 10 of these correct. Aquí están, here they are. 5, 10, 18, 4, 7, 13, 11, 20, 14, 35. Bien. Dale, bien. Magnífico. Hicieron bien. You did great. Okay, fantástico. We'll take another little dictado next week. La semana que viene. Next week, we will do another one, and we will do some with maybe higher numbers. Correct me if I am wrong. I sent you, here's what we're going to do next week. We're going to take some ads. Oh yeah, stuff like this. Es muy útil. Yeah, you're going to give me some prices. Oh yeah. So
And do we name that item as well, or just the
no,
prices?
no, just prices, because what we want to, we want to isolate these, right? I mean, I can't expect you to rattle off, you know, a sentence with 8 or 9 different words. We want just the price, right? When you ask somebody for the price and you're a beginner, you know, ¿cuál es el precio? What's the price? And he's going to give you a number, and you should understand what that number is so that you don't overpay. Yeah. Okay. So here we go. Right. It'll be, I'm going to say the centavos. So I'll say like, cinco, con with, cinco con, 77. We'll get dos dólares con 97. Oh, 67, 67 cents. See? 3,99. Sí. 11.88. 11,88. Yeah. So you're going to just do some little double combinations. So you'll be using some numbers that are in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s, and we'll preview that and practice that before we do that practice. See, bien? That's what we're going to do so that you know what you are doing next week. We'll take a look at some numbers as well. Okay, we're also going to take a look at, I'm going to give you these 2 things for listening to get some house vocabulary. Oops, not that one, perdón. These two, they're going to be these two videos I will send you in the email. And they both in different ways talk about rooms in the house. A little bit of furniture, rooms in the house, floors in the house, talking about our house, because that's in the next chapter. And so we're going to focus on describing the house. Okay, a little bit talking about what you have in your house. I want you to prepare for me when you come in next week to talk about how many rooms your house has and what they are. And I'll send you a written example in the email, but it will sound like this. And I want it to be brief. This is not a term paper, research paper. Yeah. I'm going to say something like, mi casa tiene, my house has. Okay. And in this chapter on la casa, that has la casa, it's going to show you a new verb, tener. It is going to show you the new verb tener. ¿Dónde está? ¿Dónde está? This is in 5, capítulo, no, perdón, 4. I'm sorry. 4. You're going to see a little chart like you had with estar, like you had with ser, of the forms of tener, which are tengo, tienes, tiene, tenemos, tienen. You're going to see them on page 55 of your book. But if you're talking about your house, it'll be mi casa tiene, my house has. Or you may choose to say, I have. You might say, I have so many rooms in my house, or my house has. If it's I have, it's tengo. Tengo, I have. Tengo 14 cuartos. I have 14 rooms. Tengo 14 cuartos en mi casa, in my house. Okay. Tengo 14. Or I might choose to say it as mi casa tiene, my house has. Mi casa tiene 14 cuartos, 14 rooms. And then I'm going to name what I've got. Okay. Tengo una cocina, tengo una sala, tengo un comedor. I have a dining room. Tengo 5 habitaciones, 5 bedrooms. And you're going to see different countries like to use different words for bedroom. So you're going to see what those are. Tengo 5 habitaciones, or I might call those habitaciones bedrooms. Tengo 5 cuartos. I might just use cuartos, or I might say tengo 5 dormitorios. There are different words for bedrooms, so that's okay. Tengo 3 baños. Tengo 3 baños. Tengo una oficina. Tengo un garaje. I've got one garage. Tengo un garaje. See? Bien. So it'll be like that. I just want to do this. I want you to prepare a simple description of your house. You know, just how many rooms you've got, because you're going to have more than one bathroom, maybe. And maybe you live in an apartamento, not a house, casa. So, you know, whichever one is fine. But you're going to get 2 videos that talk about rooms in the house. So listen to both of those. And you'll come in and talk about how many, and you're going to be using, you know, lower numbers, because probably none of you has, you know, 25 rooms in your house. Boy, if you do, I want to see your house. Okay. Bien. Okay. ¿Está bien? All good? Bien. Fantástico.
Bien. Muy
If
bien.
you have any questions midweek, let me know. Díganme, tell me. I do want you to know next week is formally our last week, but not really, because I'm extending 2 extra lessons to you because this is such a short session. So next week is formally the last class, but not really, because I'm going to give you 2 freebies the week after that and the week after that, right up until Christmas. But we will be covering lots of stuff. So I hope that you can tune in for all of that. Todo está bien. Good? Bien?
Sí, bien.
Fantástico.
Gracias.
Excelente.
Gracias.
De nada, de nada. Es un placer. It is
Hasta
a
luego.
pleasure.